Okay, well, let's see if some more folks show up, but we'll go ahead and get started here. So one of the ways that the Taoists perceived life and energy is that everything is a manifestation, that is all physical forms are manifestations of Qi, universal life force energy. The Indians called it prana. The Greeks called it pneuma. And the Japanese called it ki. And so this is the basis of what we're working with. So if we take the breath, for instance, it's not simply that air is coming in and out. It's that if we go to the very, very first breath, the first in breath, this is yan, and implicit in the presence of the first in breath is the first out breath. So this is the Buddhist notion of dependent co-arising. So if there's an in breath, there is an out breath in the future, but implicit in the in breath is the out breath. And so this is the Tai Chi symbol, the yin and yang. The one and its opposite in motion. But we're not so concerned about that because that's just the way it is. The thing about the Tai Chi symbol is that it's enclosed in a circle, and it's moving. It's not a snapshot. It's constantly moving. And so the question is, for the Taoists is, well, what is it that's causing the breath? What makes a being take that first in breath? And what makes energy manifest into form? It's the same question. So we're looking now at the circle. We're not getting caught in, there's the in breath and the out breath. There's all the parts of the breath, and we can manipulate the breath and so on and so on. We're saying, what is the breath? What causes the breath? What's the source of the breath? And they name that, as I said, they name that Qi. And we're going to be spending half the time tonight doing seated meditation. Because always I say, okay, well, let's pull up your stool and we'll go into meditation. But I want to kind of break that down into all of its constituent elements and what we're really doing when we do that non-moving meditation. So, and it has to do with the energy and the qualities of the life force energy, which is clear and present. It's not at all esoteric. It's totally available and experiential. So that's where we're going to be going tonight. So about halfway through, we'll go into, well, I guess Taoist meditation, to Qi meditation. So. Okay. So taking our standing posture. And so one of the reasons that we do all these postures and all these movements is to increase and maintain the suppleness of the physical body. because in order for our awareness to completely suffuse this physical body, in other words, for the chi to flow completely through this body, it needs to be relaxed. It needs to be supple. So the point of the exercises isn't so much strengthening as it is, I would say, softening. Not making us weak, but making us relaxed and open. So our association with standing in this culture is rigidity. I think the default posture in this culture is probably sitting or lying down. And so we associate kind of tension with standing. And so we want to be aware of how we might be holding that tension as we're standing. And we want to release it. So we do that through movement. And then we also do that through our attention and through our breath. So when we first drop into this relaxed standing position, we might just notice, oh, there's a little tension in this body, maybe in the shoulders or the upper arms, or maybe in the neck, somewhere, and that's fine. We just notice it. We don't say, well, we want to get rid of that. We just notice that, sure, we've been doing stuff all day, and all that doing creates tension in the body. So naturally there is some. So we're just kind of noticing here as we're standing. And just the bare noticing in itself causes some letting go of the tension. And we know the posture, we've been through this many times about how we're standing. But just standing with awareness, the breath will tend to deepen. And we'll go into feeling, that is sensing. And the body will begin to soften. Okay, so we've just noticed that. So let's go ahead and bow to the directions, starting with the north. And turning to the east. To the south. To the west. And up. Down. And all of these directions are also within the body. And so now, instead of just being the standing body, we've included all the space around it and within it. And we've said with our bodies that these spaces are not different. Okay? And drop down. Okay, so we're going to standing again and noticing, and let's start with head and neck. So this is deeper than just keeping our neck flexible. This is encouraging and allowing the life force energy to suffuse the whole body, to move throughout the body in the patterns. So this is a physical practice, and we're stretching it out. It's also a spiritual practice. So we're opening to the chi. And then circling the shoulders. Keeping the joints loose, creating heat, and it's all good. And we're releasing tension. And tension is our Western word for what the ancients called blockages to the flow of the chi. Okay, and moving down with this one. So we're going to accentuate the in-breath. And we've done this many times. We're taking the awareness another level deeper. So as we sink down, so this is in-breath. Okay, let's just pause a moment. This gesture is a universal gesture of openness, of surrender. Okay, and then coming back. This is the gesture that Trisha Yu calls ta-da, because this is also a gesture of joy. Or what the Taoists would say, this is a gesture of bliss. Okay, so repeating. So every in-breath carries with it this emotional sense of joy. The lungs fill, the body fills with the air that's around the body. The body opens up, it's more spacious, just like the area around the body. And then the exhale is implicit in this exercise. So we release everything. We release everything so that we can be empty and open for the joy of the in-breath. The in-breath fills us up, but not in the way that, that food fills us up. It fills us up, and in filling us up, it makes us lighter, not heavier. You may just feel a little stretch at the corners of the mouth. At the maximum extent of the movement. So what we're saying here is that every in-breath carries with it, if we're open to it, a sense of joy. Now, we may not be open to it. we may be focused on our worries and our troubles and difficult things or tasks, whatever it is, and we're not really aware of it. But what the Taoists are saying is that the qi carries with it a positive charge. It's just its nature. It carries joy, the joy of living. In breath. So we're nourishing ourselves with oxygen. We're nourishing ourselves with life force energy. And now we have an awareness, this feeling of openness in the chest, this feeling of joy, which is available with every in-breath. Okay, let's do two more. You can really lean back with this. Okay, so that's the middle dantian, that's the heart center. Okay, now we're going to bring softness, openness, flexibility to the lower dantian. And again, this is about, keeping the spine flexible, the hip joints flexible, very important for our balance. It's also opening up what they call the earthly gate. So it's opening up the perineum, the hips, the lower body to what they call the ancestral qi, which is the energy of not only the ancestors, but the energy of the earth. Because it's the earth. The view is that we're an outgrowth of the earth, like a plant or a tree or something. So we want to keep that connection open. And then okay, and then the other way. Okay, and the balance, obviously good in and of itself, good to have good balance and so on. Also for equanimity. But in order to do this next, the balancing one, we want to bring to mind that vertical axis. It's really the mental component. So if we just stop for a moment. And really visualize it clearly, feel the alignment of the spine. That's what we're going to work with. So we're standing, we got that vertical all the way from the center of the earth out, up. Now we're just going to shift the weight, bend the knee a little bit, and feel that vertical axis move with the center of the body so that it's right over the weighted foot. And once we've got that, then we can move the unweighted foot or just lift up the heel. And that central axis is still there. And so we touch down. Now we're shifting the central axis over now to the other one. And when we've got it locked in, okay, very good. And the central axis moves. You can envision it, if you like, as a laser beam that just moves directly under the foot and then moves over till it's under the other foot. When it's under that foot, then you can safely lift up the unweighted. So this is sort of advanced level of establishing the vertical axis. So we still maintain it even though we're not double weighted. And then this is just the dance. If the in-breath brings joy, then the body would naturally sort of move beautifully, slowly. In this dance. Let's try the flying crane. I always think the flying crane is a very joyful movement. And I think one reason for that might be that it really opens the chest. It's about the in-breath. Flying crane. In-breath and then release. So move over a bit. Okay, one more on each side. Okay. Okay, now just to be sure, and you know, I really think you can skip all of that stuff if you just do this. There's a teacher who just teaches this, and you do this for long periods of time. There's more, they teach more than just this, but this is, and I really think this is so basic and so effective that the body really can't help but relax and sort of let go when it's doing this. See if maybe there's still a little tension in the neck or shoulders. If there is, let that go. Okay, just another half a minute or so. Okay, now let's just go into the backwash and tree and spring again. The whole basis of posture for meditation is the spine. So we really want to open you can turn, I don't guess you can see me, but you can turn a little at the waist side to side and stretch out the sides as well. Okay, and then again. Okay, one more. Okay, there are many, many ways to begin a sitting meditation practice. And so I'm going to introduce one to you. I'm sure you're familiar with many, many others. So let's bring up your stool or chair. And maybe just check your shoulders are loose. I'll move a little closer. The mudra is entirely up to you, the hand position, whatever you're comfortable with. As I've said, the Lan Fa is one of the traditional ones in Qigong, but whatever one you like is fine. The Taoists recommend sitting on a chair or stool. They generally don't practice meditation in a lotus position because they say it blocks the flow of qi in the legs. But if you are used to sitting in a lotus or a half lotus or however you sit on a bench, with it's all good. I'm not going to be dogmatic about it. Okay, so first let's check in with the spine. And what we're doing here is we're sort of pushing the belly out just a little bit and creating that little curve at the base of the spine. Now, the posture, we're going to be going through the posture. This is not a military kind of thing where you have to hold yourself in this way and that way. just like with the movements, what we want to do in arranging the posture is to enable the body to be relaxed, enable it to sit for a length of time without moving, and enable the energy and the breath to flow freely. And so that's the point of putting the body in a certain way. Now, there's a tendency for us to be leaning forward, particularly our head, because our eyes and nose and mouth are in the front of our face, and we're generally sort of leaning into our sense experience. And so we're just going to consciously withdraw the head a little bit, drop the chin. And dropping the chin lengthens the spine in the neck, opens it up where it meets the skull. And the drawing in of the chin naturally moves the belly forward a little bit. And you'll notice the breath deepen. And now the crown of the head is aligned with the vertical axis. The crown of the head, if you look straight down, the perineum would be the center of a target, right straight down the bottom. And the Buddhists have a practice called the honey of heaven. And this is a really an old Taoist thing where you imagine with the out breath this warm sweetness that slowly moves down, starting at the top of the head and moves down over the face and softens all the small muscles in the face. And it moves down, opens the throat, and softens the muscles in the neck, the back and sides of the neck, and down into the shoulders and the upper body. So with the out breath, you can just sort of repeat this warm softness just coming down. And so as we're doing that, we're going to move to the eyes. And we've practiced a lot using the eyes to move the attention, to move the qi. And it's very effective. If we look internally, we can use the eyes to make the microcosmic orbit up the spine, down the front. We can move the eyes. But in this meditation, we're going to let the eyes go. So eye movement is associated with mental activity. So if you can feel and imagine the eyeballs, just like two beach balls floating on a warm sea, just soft and loose. And your eyelids can be closed or just slightly open. If they're slightly open, there's a reassuring quality to the emotions that we're here. That the body is here, the surroundings, everything's here. We're not looking at anything. The eyes are relaxed, so there's no focusing. Just a little light coming in. And just reassuring ourselves that we're not lost in a daydream. or something. Or the eyes can be shut. The eyeballs are just soft and relaxed, not being used for seeing. This has a calming effect on the mind. Now moving the attention around to the temples. And we don't need to touch them, but let's just, for this practice, go ahead and bring up your hands and just lightly touch the temples and make small circles with just a little bit of pressure. And just massage the temples. And we're going to put the hands back, and we're going to keep massaging the temples with our mind. And the temples, like the eye sockets now, are just very relaxed, very soft. And moving down and opening the throat. You can breathe in through your mouth if you like, once or twice. And dropping down into the breastbone, the rib cage. And we're not imagining it. It's straight down. And let's drop down the center of the body even further to the point where the in-breath just begins. This is going to be deep down in the body. The point in the abdomen where the in-breath starts. At the end of the in-breath, there's that stillness. Drop the attention down softly and feel the place where the breath begins. And this is the lower dantian. And you can recheck your posture, readjust it if you need to. Ajahn Suchito says 80% is fine, and I agree. When we check and adjust our posture, we may get up to almost 100%, and everything is aligned and perfect. And then as we soften, we may get down to 80%, and then when we realign, we'll come back. But it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not military. We're invoking softness and openness. And we're upright in order to allow the breath and the chi to flow. Let the stomach be very soft. And now with the in-breath, let's bring our attention up into the upper middle dantian, to the heart area. And just feel that expansion with the in-breath. And assess that feeling as a mood. How does the mood respond to the in-breath? So we're sensing the movement of the air. Now let's shift a little and sense the heat. There's heat in the body and in the core of the body. The heat is there and it's radiating out through the skin. So the body's radiating with the exhale, it's radiating heat. And now let's move into breathing the stars. So we're breathing in air, we're also breathing in chi, or energy. You can breathe it in from below, from above, from all around. And then out breath, radiating it out in all directions. So merging the physical body with the space around it. And we can extend the awareness just like we extend the heat. Extend it out without limit in all directions. And there's also a joy now in the out breath with the extension of consciousness, because it's liberating. The joy with the in breath, bringing the air, the chi into the body, filling it with space, with light, and the joy in the out breath. By extending in all directions. This is a joy of a sense of freedom, spaciousness. The joy of the in-breath is a joy of fulfillment, presence, embodiment. And now we'll go into some Taoist breath exercises. So the whole body is merged with the field. And we'll breathe in now through the top of the head. Breathe down into the body. Breathe out the perineum down into the earth. Next breath, reverse breathe up. And exhale up. So this is merging along the vertical axis, merging earth, heaven, and human. And you probably have a tendency to use your eyes, and that's okay. And you can also let the eyes just relax. Maybe if they're partly open, it helps a little. So we're seeing this, we're feeling it. We're not experiencing it directly with our senses. It's a subtle energy experienced by what they call the subtle body. So this creates a sense of happiness, inner happiness, pleasure. The breath is now not neutral, it's a source of deep pleasure. Not the pleasure of seeing something beautiful or tasting or smelling something or touching. It's a pleasure that's subtle and internal, not dependent on the on the sense organs. And this is an experience of the universal life force energy, which is imbued with joy and which we feel as pleasantness. Check the posture. And we can remain in this place, this pleasant place. We can remain in this place for quite a long time. Another thing, if the eyes are slightly open, it's easier to sort of come back. Now let's take a few more breaths. Okay, and let's sort of slowly move our feet a little, move our hands a little bit. So this source of inner, the Buddhists call inner happiness or inner pleasure, of course, is always available. And it reduces the necessity for looking outward for pleasantness or joy. Is that we can go inward and have waves and layers upon layers of this pleasure, pleasantness. And so when Buddhists talk about not being attached to sensory pleasures, to sense pleasures, and so on, it sounds like they're saying you're being ascetic and we're not wanting to have pleasure or pleasantness. And it's not that at all. It's that when we turn directly to the source of life for stimulation, there's this very deep well of availability of pleasantness, of pleasure, inner pleasure. And the thing of it is, not only is it not exhausted, it keeps expanding. It can keep on expanding as far as we want it to. So, okay, well, let's go ahead and clap our hands one time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And first the eye sockets. Hair. Ears. Okay. Any comments or questions?
That was highly pleasurable.
And it didn't cost anything. We didn't have to order anything online or like get in our cars or go somewhere. It's free of charge. Yeah. 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 Okay. Anyone else?
I really appreciated the balance. I've been trying to figure that out, the balance, like how to shift the weight onto one leg, and it was really helpful to do that so slowly that I think I got it now. Because when I do like the crane, I always feel really confused and like, where's that axis of balance? So that was really helpful.
Yeah, yeah. It's the movement from that first standing meditation where you just establish that.
Mhm,
And you just
mhm,
do that for a while. You can just do standing meditation rather than sitting. And just really establish that verticality. You can do that
mhm,
sitting too,
mhm,
of course, but um, keeping it, usually when we're sitting, we have our balance. But if we do it standing, if you practice standing meditation for a while and really get a sense of how that feels,
mhm,
when we're aligned and balanced and so on, then what we were doing is sort of the next step, which is, moving it and
mhm,
maintaining it, and then after that, it's doing various movements that would involve one-legged and, you know, holding it for a period of time or moving with it. But yeah, um, I think that's really been studied a lot, because falls are such a major source of injury for
mhm,
particularly older people. It's
mhm,
really been studied. It's tremendously efficacious. Just
mhm,
doing those simple one-legged things.
mhm.
So, um, and even if you're not old, I mean, just to help you, you know, in your day-to-day life, or if you're an athlete or something, it's just very helpful. This is real different from Western exercise, isn't
Mhm.
it? I mean, we're not feeling the burn here, We're we're actually trading the old beat up used body in for kind of a new one, kind of an expanded one, you know, and We're rejuvenating. That's the point of it, not to well, okay. Anything else?
I have a question. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, great. So, something I've been thinking about lately is like the way we did the meditation today is similar to how I do a lot of my sits, where um, focus a lot on like the pleasantness of that expanded awareness. And you would think that would translate well to going to sleep, where if you put your mind in that state, it's so pleasant, you just go like right into blissful sleep. But for me, it really keeps me awake.
Yeah.
Um, and it doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense why you would want to give up that state to go into sleep anyway. Is there some way you need to tweak your mind to fall asleep with this?
Yeah, this isn't about falling asleep. That you're doing it very effectively, because that's the thing about the posture. If we were just lying down doing this, we really might go to sleep. But if we're keeping this upright posture, it's going to keep us awake. When we start slumping, then we go, oh, okay, let's bring this back. And it does. And the chi is enlivening. That's the quality of it. It's energetic. So I wouldn't do this to fall asleep. This is actually the opposite of that. Even though it's very sort of soft and so on, it's really the opposite of that. Sleep is kind of an interesting thing, isn't it? I mean, they've studied this too, is it seems like meditation is more efficacious for refreshing the body and the mind than sleep is, actually. And one of my teachers, Chunyi Lin, sleeps 3 hours a night. And the guy is just a ball of energy. But he practices Qigong for like 8 hours a day, and he's a healer, and he does it. And he says, yeah, it's much better than sleeping. But us normal people like to sleep too. So it's just when you get up around my age, sleep eludes you sometimes at night, and so you might be awake for a few hours. And I've had a lot of opportunity to investigate that, that cusp of being asleep or being awake and what this is doing and stuff. It's pretty interesting. Okay. So Todd, I have a bird question for you. I heard a great horned owl. Are they mating now? Is this their time, their territorial time?
Well, they're getting ready. I mean, they can nest as early as February. So yeah, this is, territory establishment and letting females know you're around. I haven't heard of her about a week, but there were a pair that were hooting at each other in our neighborhood maybe 10 days ago for several nights in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm getting a lot of great horned owl questions lately.
No.
People are hearing them, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you add one more to your list.
Todd, that pair must have moved to farming hood.
What's that?
Oh, we've been hearing great horned owls in our neighborhood, so. Yeah, every year this time, we get a pair that kind of call back and forth.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's
Yeah. Yeah, Stephen, so with the meditation and Qigong, I find not only is it overall relaxing and centering, but like if I practice before I normally would eat food, then my that sort of satisfies me, and I don't need to eat right away, or I don't need to eat as much.
wow.
It's nourishing on a lot of levels for me.
Yeah, well, there's stories, I don't know how they may be apocryphal, but I had a teacher trained in China, and there's stories about people not having to eat for long periods of time and sort of living on qi and breath and all that. I can't attest to that myself. I'm a big
That's
fan.
not me. No, that's not
I'm a big fan of cooking and eating, actually, myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what they say. It's in the literature.
Okay.
Okay, folks. Well, hope you enjoyed it. And Mike, would you say something about that email that you got from
Doug?
yeah.
Yeah, I got an email from the Tai Chi Center, and it was short and laid out that with not being as busy and not having regular classes, that Doug is pretty convinced he'll have to close the Tai Chi Center. And he seemed to give me the idea that if you were able to donate something, that would be good for you guys. And he did say that Stephen, you teachers are not being paid for the online stuff. I'm not sure if that's true, but kind of follow up with Doug, and I'll send him an email for clarification on that.
Yeah, why don't you? Because I haven't seen that. I must not be on his email list. I don't know, but I'll check in with him. We did have a long meeting about all this, and I brought up a whole bunch of suggestions for how we can move ahead, and I haven't heard back from him on anything. So it's kind of news to me.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe it'll go virtual.
There's also a suggestion in his email that he might be looking for a new location, wasn't there, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we discussed. But one of my suggestions was that you form a board. He's doing everything by himself, everything. And he has not made one penny in all these years. And so I suggested that he form a board, and then he form a group of friends of the Tai Chi Center, and tap into people with various abilities and connections, and go back to online classes when he can, and also do virtual classes. And that's unlimited. The reach or the scope of that could be unlimited. So like I said, I haven't heard anything back from him. So you're ahead of me on that.
Yeah, I
Oh.
got that letter. Yeah, I think it went out to everybody on the list.
Hmm.
Yeah. Todd, you
Well-
probably got it, right?
Well, I'd be really sorry to see the center disappear, you know. But-
Sure.
Okay, well, I'll check in with him. I'll see if maybe I did get the email, look for it. So, but sorry, I can't shed any light on that.
Thank you, Stephen.